Have you ever danced until your feet ached, your heart pounded, and your mind was clouded with exhaustion? Now, imagine doing that for days, weeks, even months. Welcome to the enigma of the dancing plague of 1518, a historical event that still puzzles scholars and historians alike. We find ourselves in the heart of Strasbourg, France, then part of the Holy Roman Empire, where a dance of death took hold of its citizens. In the midst of a sweltering summer, an inexplicable frenzy began to sweep through the town. People danced with wild abandon, day and night, for no apparent reason, their bodies writhing in ceaseless motion. They danced until they collapsed, and then they danced some more. The spectacle was as terrifying as it was mystifying, with the eerie rhythm of their feet echoing throughout the city like a haunting melody. As we delve into this peculiar event, prepare to be astounded and perplexed. On a sunny July day, a woman named Frau Trophea started to dance. But this was no ordinary dance. It was in the cobblestone streets of Strasbourg, a city known for its charm and history. Amidst the hustle and bustle, Frau Trophea began to move rhythmically, her feet tapping out a beat only she could hear. The spectacle of a lone woman dancing was not in itself unusual, but this dance was different. There was no music, no band of merry musicians to accompany her steps. Mere silence was her orchestra. Her body twisted and turned, her feet pounded the ground, and she danced. She danced with an intensity that seemed to surpass the boundaries of human endurance. Over time, her dance turned into something of an enigma. She didn't stop. Day drifted into night, night into day, and yet, Frau Trophea danced on. Her body swayed, her feet never ceased their relentless rhythm. The expressions of amusement on the faces of passers-by slowly turned into concern, then alarm. The townsfolk watched in bewilderment as the dance continued for days on end. Her energy was inexhaustible, her determination unyielding. The people of Strasbourg began to gather, whispering among themselves, their eyes fixed on the lone dancer. They watched as Frau Trophea defied the human limits of fatigue and exhaustion, her body moving in a ceaseless dance. The spectacle turned into a local phenomenon. The dance of Frau Trophea became the talk of the town. People from all walks of life, the butcher, the baker, even the town crier, everyone was talking about the woman who danced without rest, without music, without any apparent reason. As the days passed, Frau Trophea's dance showed no signs of stopping. Her relentless energy began to draw more than just curious glances. It sparked a sense of unease, a ripple of fear. For this was no ordinary dance. This was a dance that defied reason, a dance that ignored the laws of human endurance. Little did the town know, this was just the beginning, scene script. Within a week, Frau Trophea was not alone in her relentless dance. Others had joined in, swept up in an inexplicable dance fever. If one were to walk the streets of Strasbourg in that fateful summer of 1518, they would bear witness to a sight both peculiar and eerie. It began with one, but as the days passed, more and more citizens succumbed to this strange ailment, a contagion not of coughs and fevers, but of ceaseless rhythmic movement, a dance that knew no end. Dozens of individuals, men and women alike, could be seen swaying, hopping and twirling in the city's cobblestone streets. Day and night, rain or shine, they danced. Some danced in pairs or small groups, while others moved in solitary rhythm, each seemingly entranced by their own silent tune. This was no merry jig or festive revelry. There was no music, no laughter, just the constant, relentless movement of bodies seemingly possessed by an unseen force. The spectacle was both fascinating and unnerving. Imagine a city where the rhythm of life was replaced by the rhythm of an unending dance. Sleep, food, and rest, all were forsaken for the dance. As the days turned into weeks, the number of dancers grew exponentially. The phenomenon was indiscriminate, seizing the young and the old, the rich and the poor, the strong and the weak. It seemed as though the entire city had been swept up in a feverish delirium, a dance macabre that held its victims in a vice-like grip. Despite the best efforts of the city's physicians and clergy, no cure could be found. No prayer, no potion seemed capable of halting the dance. The dancers, driven by an unseen force, continued their relentless jig, their faces etched with exhaustion and a haunting desperation. By August, the dancing epidemic had taken hold of Strasbourg, with around 400 citizens in its grip. This was a city under siege, not by an invading army, but by an enemy far more insidious, an enemy that danced to its own beat. The city authorities were at a loss. How do you stop an epidemic of dancing? The question hung in the air like an unsolvable riddle. Desperate times call for desperate measures, and the city's leaders were nothing if not desperate. In their attempts to manage this bizarre crisis, they turned to music. Their thinking was as straightforward as it was flawed. If music had sparked the dancing, perhaps more music could end it. So they hired musicians, the best in the city, to play for the dancers. A counterintuitive approach, you might say, and you wouldn't be wrong. The city's halls were flung open. Dancers, feverish and frenzied, were herded into these public spaces. The musicians played, their melodies echoing off the high ceilings. But rather than soothing the dancers into stillness, the music seemed to fuel their fervor. The consequences of these actions were as swift as they were disastrous. Far from quelling the dancing epidemic, the city's measures seemed to fan its flames. More and more people were drawn into the communal dance, their bodies swaying and twisting to the relentless beat of the music. The city's streets were filled with a growing chorus of footfalls, a rhythmic symphony of chaos. The dancers moved in a trance-like state, their faces flushed, their eyes vacant. The city watched in helpless horror as the number of dancers swelled. Each new dancer was another haunting reminder of the city's impotence in the face of this inexplicable crisis. As the city descended into chaos, the authorities were left grappling with the harsh reality of their failure. Their attempts to control the situation had backfired spectacularly. Their city was now a dance floor, and their people, the unwilling performers in a macabre spectacle of relentless rhythm and motion. The authorities' attempts to control the situation only seemed to make things worse. It was a grim lesson in the unpredictability of human behavior and the limits of authority, a lesson etched in the frenetic footfalls of a city held captive by dance. Eventually, the dancing began to cease, as mysteriously as it had started. The city that had been gripped by an inexplicable dancing frenzy started to regain its calm. The once teeming streets were slowly emptying as the dancers, one by one, began to stop. Some simply walked away, as if waking up from a trance, their faces a mask of confusion and exhaustion. Others weren't so lucky. Many collapsed right there on the cobblestone streets, their bodies pushed beyond the brink by days of non-stop movement. Their hearts just couldn't keep up with the relentless rhythm that had consumed them. The death toll was staggering. Hundreds of people had danced themselves to death, leaving a city in mourning. The aftermath was as haunting as the event itself. Families mourned their lost loved ones, while survivors were left grappling with the physical and psychological toll of their ordeal. The community was shaken, struggling to make sense of the tragedy that had unfolded. But it wasn't just the loss of life that devastated the city. The dancing plague of 1518 had also dealt a crushing blow to the community's sense of safety and understanding of the world. The dance fever had shown them that even in the face of the most bizarre circumstances, they were not immune to the fragility of human life. The city was left scarred, with a deep wound that would take years, even decades to heal. The survivors carried the trauma of their experience, a grim reminder of the deadly dance that had once consumed their city. In the end, the dancing plague of 1518 remained a mystery. Despite numerous theories and explanations, no one could definitively say why it had started or why it had ended. It was a chilling chapter in the city's history, a dance of death that had come and gone, as if in a dream. By the time fall arrived, the dancing plague of 1518 had ended, leaving a trail of death, confusion, and unanswered questions. The city was silent once more, but the echoes of that haunting dance still lingered, a ghostly memory that would forever be etched in the annals of history. The dancing plague of 1518 remains one of history's most peculiar events. A sudden and inexplicable urge to dance seized hundreds in Strasbourg, France, leading to a frenzied spectacle that lasted for weeks. The impact was profound, disrupting the social order and causing widespread panic and death. There are various theories about what caused this bizarre occurrence. Some scholars propose it was a case of mass hysteria, a collective delusion driven by high levels of psychological stress. Others suggest ergot poisoning, caused by a fungus that grows on rye and wheat, which can induce hallucinations and spasms. But the truth remains elusive. No definitive explanation has been found, and the dancing plague of 1518 continues to perplex and fascinate historians and scientists alike. While we may never know the true cause of the dancing plague, it serves as a stark reminder of the power of the human mind and the mysteries it still holds.